This is Angel from Stewberries, and today we are talking about parenting teenagers. That's right, we're talking about one of the biggies, teenage attitude, and why your attitude is everything. If you tell anybody that you are parenting a teenager, you're going to get that attitude question. How are you dealing with the attitude? Does your teen attitude suck? Oh my gosh, I've heard that's such a difficult age. You're going to get the questions, the comments, the eye rolls. You're going to get those questions that generally explain the teenage parenting vibe. Everybody expects the teenage years to be torturous. First, I'm gonna say that I think that sometimes teenagers get a bad rap. I'm not gonna say all the time, because sometimes there is attitude, but overall I think that teenagers get a bad rap because I'm not gonna say they don't have a greater probability of attitude than somebody else, but I know that my attitude sometimes is not the best. I'm just gonna be honest. If I'm hungry, I'm usually hangry. If I'm tired, what's the T? Angry. I'm tangry. Tired and angry combined? I don't think that's a word. I'm using it anyway. I'm tangry. Sometimes my attitude is not the best. And I think that our expectations of teenagers having an attitude is sometimes greater than the possible teenage attitude that's actually happening. So let's talk about the tips. My first tip for dealing with teenage attitude is perspective is everything. I think that it is something about the fact that your teenager used to be this sweet little cuddly person who, toddlers talk back quite a bit too. I don't know about you and in your toddler years, but I personally think the toddler years are rougher than the teenage years. I think this is why toddlers and babies are cute, because there's so much work that they have to be cute. Like, nobody would put themselves through that for I guess there's ugly babies, but like that's what they're bringing to the table, okay? They are bringing cutes to the table, and they're small packaging. Okay, when your teenager is large and they got an attitude and they're very needy, I think that is what pushes people over the edge. Okay, they used to be cute and cuddly, and now they have an opinion, they have ideas, they have thoughts, and sometimes their agenda doesn't line up with your agenda that you had for them, and it causes conflict. I had a friend who had 3 teenagers in her house that she was raising at one time. My children were very small at this time. Maybe my daughter was maybe 6 years old. And I would probe her all the time for what was going on, how was she coping, because I had kind of got into this groove of the teenage years must be difficult, and I almost wanted to brace myself. Like, what do I have to look forward to when I finally have these teenagers in my house? And she never spoke a bad word about her teenagers. And I thought that that was really interesting, because I'm sure every day wasn't perfect. I'm sure every day wasn't perfect. And living with teenagers, you know that every day isn't perfect. But she never said anything negative about them. And I thought that there was something really powerful about that, because it's very easy to focus on the negative when your perspective really changes how you deal with each situation on a daily basis. So if you're expecting attitude, I think you're going to get attitude, because it just changes our response and changes how we interact. And so tip number 1, your perspective is everything. Try to shift your perspective into seeing the good. And that brings me right to my tip number 2, is to focus on the positive. If your teenagers are anything like my teenagers, they are doing a lot of good stuff. My teenagers are in sports. So my son plays basketball, my daughter runs track and cross country, my son also runs track and cross country, and they both play musical instruments. My daughter plays the flute. Amazing flute player, and my son plays the saxophone. So they're doing a lot of great things. The attitude is one piece to the puzzle sometimes, and that is easy to allow that to cloud all the other great things that are happening. If your teenager has great grades or is keeping up with their schoolwork on their own, try to focus on those things, the positive, let the bad be the bad. Tip number 3 is that they are part of the technology generation. And you might say, what does technology have to do with a bad attitude? I will say that the pressures associated with technology are greater than we maybe think. Teenagers are already very concerned about what their peers think about them and how they are presenting themselves to other people. For the most part, I can't say that that's every teenager, but for the most part, they're very concerned about what other people are thinking about them. When you are inviting that opinion of others into your house through social media and Snapchat, and you're seeing, you know, superstars, teenagers who look like this, who look like that, and all these name brands, the pressures never stop. And there is something to that constant pressure versus when we were in school, we had a break. You came home, I mean, if you called somebody on the phone, that was the extent of it. And when I was a kid, I remember when we got two lines. I thought that was like the best thing ever. Up to that, only one person could talk on the phone at a time, and you had that long cord that you had to, so everybody knew where you were. There was no hiding and talking anywhere. Everybody knew where you were because the cord followed you along, okay? And then in my family, I was like low man on the totem pole. So my sister and really my cousin, she was the one who got most of the phone time. And if you got in the way of her not being able to click over and do two-way, then she would punch you. So those are the pressures that I was living with. Nothing like, are my jeans from American Eagle or not? Okay, they're first world problems for sure, but it's a problem nonetheless, okay? Tip number 4, oh my goodness, is don't take it personal. They're gonna be upset. They're gonna sometimes have a bad attitude, and it doesn't always have to do anything with you. So if they are having a bad day, like I'm sure that somebody at your house has had a bad day before too. I probably had 2 this week. Probably. Easy. But don't take it personal. It's not your issue all the time. Sometimes you just gotta let them be and know that you're still a rock star parent. It doesn't have anything to do with you. And my last tip, number 5, you're raising an adult. You want your teenager to learn how to deal with their attitude and stress, because they're gonna have to do it very soon. The teen years are close to the finish line, and your goal is for your teenager to become a happy, productive member of society, where they have to learn how to cope with their emotions and their feelings and being upset and dealing with coworkers and colleagues on their own as an adult. They're not going to be able to always call mom. Well, you can call mom, but you're just going to have to deal with the problem on your own, right? You can just call mom for advice, but overall, it's your issue. So that is always my focus when I'm dealing with my teenagers. I'm always focused on the fact that they are going to be adults very soon, and I'm raising them to be successful adults. And so I deal with the problems or challenges associated with them that way. So if you're having a problem with the teacher, instead of me just hopping on in and dealing with that problem for you, I will give you the advice that you need, but you need to deal with that problem on your own. And I kind of take the same stance with an attitude. What's going on with the attitude? Are you good? And now you need to get your attitude under control, because you're going to be an adult, and I can't go to work with a bad attitude and just assassin all my colleagues and my boss, because I'll get fired. And it's kind of that same perspective. No matter what, if nobody has told you today that you're doing an awesome job, you are. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. And if you like this video, please let me know by subscribing below. You can also click that notification bell so that you are updated every time I'm posting teenage parenting tips, because we all need help sometimes. Okay, we're almost there. Finish line is near.